You want to congratulate me?
On.
We got my channel got monetized. How about that? You were a big part of that.
Congrats.
Yeah, you were probably one of my first guests here. Definitely one of the first regular guests. So, thank you very much, Darby.
I thought you were going to talk about getting engaged because
we've talked about that enough.
Anyways, but congrats on all of it.
I got a talk yesterday or 2 days ago from Christy. Like, you're not exactly doing all the stuff you did when you courted me. Like, you used to send me food unannounced. So I sent her some tropical smoothie this morning.
Nice. That's a good touch.
You got to get back on the train, you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Final Four talk. Texas Longhorns, of course, this is Darby Brown, CBS Austin, sports reporting superstar. She also has big-time roots here in Waco, so I am going to chat with you a little bit about the Baylor basketball team. But Rory Harmon, Texas in the Final Four. A lot of people, Darby, you've had like the ground zero approach to this Texas team this year, but I think a lot of people around the country don't know how special that story is as we head into this weekend of the Final Four where Texas is going to take on South Carolina. Why should people care about Rory Harmon and her story?
Yeah, Rory's story is pretty incredible. I mean, I remember when I was covering Baylor and she was about to play Baylor and she had torn her ACL, and that was last season. And so she rehabs throughout the whole, rest of the season and then the off season, and has come back from this torn ACL for her. It could be her final year. Technically with, all the eligibility, she could have another year, but, has not really indicated what she's doing yet, but potentially her last year at Texas, she's been able to play, be healthy all the way through. And she's awesome. Like, it's been really cool getting to know her and getting to see her on this journey this season, because she's an amazing leader of this team. And I think she learned a lot when she was injured about, how to lead in that way and almost being a coach. And now she's been able to play, and she just has so much gratitude for being healthy. And you really could not tell, other than she does wear a brace because, she just kind of is being cautious, but you can't tell. I me's been awesome this year. So it's been really, really a cool story. And this whole run that they've been on, this is Rory's team, really. So that it's been cool to see.
Now, if Rory's the star of this team, who's the best supporting actress? Who is going to have or need to have a big semifinal game against South Carolina, and hopefully they can ascend to the championship and have an opportunity there? Or who's the second fiddle?
Yeah, well, it's Madison Booker. Madison Booker was the SEC Player of the Year, so she, production-wise, is going to look like the best player on the team, and she has an incredible jump shot that people like to compare it to Kevin Durant around here, which is kind of cool, honestly. But she's really a incredible scorer. She's also super level-headed and humble. She's only a sophomore, so she's really a young player that's done a lot. But again, it's Rory's team leading the way, but Madison Booker's for sure the girl that they look to really produce on this team. And she's really doesn't disappoint. Even if she kind of starts off a little quiet, suddenly you look at the stat sheet and she has 20 points. So she's just kind of that girl on the team.
Yeah, she's certainly not second fiddle, as I said, but she's definitely, she's probably the headliner. When you talk about Vic Schaefer, a guy who's just got an amazing reputation around college basketball, or career and record speaks for itself at Mississippi State. What is he like to cover?
Yeah, he's interesting. Like, he's super awesome and very much loves this team, but he has never content, I would say, ever, which you can tell is just going to be a sign of the standard that he holds his team to, and really what he wants to happen this year, which they want to win a national championship. And now, look, they're heading to the Final Four. They have a chance to do that. So, they would have, even the first round of the tournament, they beat a team by 60 points or 40 points, whatever, but they should have won by 60. And he was upset about, how they played on defense. And they put up 100 points for only maybe the second time in NCAA tournament history. And he had things to grumble about. So he is definitely that type of coach that he is, he expects a lot. And I think he loves them a ton, but he also really holds them to a high standard. And so that is Vic Schaefer in a nutshell. He's always got something to nitpick on, and it's comical sometimes. Like, again, the 40-point win, we were kind of like, okay, coach, come on. But, it is what the girls, they buy into it. They weren't happy either after that game. So, that's kind of how it goes.
How does he treat the media?
He's super friendly. He very much is, he cares about us covering the team. He appreciates the coverage. You can tell he's been a guy that has been a pioneer for, women's basketball. He cares about the game on a big level. And so he cares about getting his team out there coverage wise. And, it's never, I don't think he expects it. I think now in the last couple of years, they've, become a program that people are going to talk about, more than others. But I think it roots back to, kind of similarities to when I covered Kim. Like he cares about, you covering the team and it's important and he's thankful for it. So.
And you're accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
This matchup, people are saying first team to 50, South Carolina, Texas. Mm-hmm. How do these teams match up? What are you expecting as somebody who's watched Texas all season long?
I think it's going to be a good game. It is interesting because, obviously they split in the regular season and South Carolina won in South Carolina, Texas won in Austin. And I covered that game and it was, a hard fought game till the very end. And I think that was a huge win for Texas as far as the program and just getting started in the SEC and beating a team that hadn't lost in SEC play in forever. So I expect it to be the same, although I'll say, I think the SEC championship, the tournament championship game, Texas really had a tough, especially I think it was the second quarter, really tough second quarter, and kind of got, they just kind of got run out. And so I feel like that is been a bad taste in their mouth, that they're going to do everything they can to combat that. And I do think it'll probably be, like you said, not super high scoring, but definitely, a tough game. And so I really think it could go either way. Obviously, South Carolina has the benefit of they've been there before, and Texas really hasn't been to the Final Four since 2003. So none of these girls have been there. But, that can go either way too, the energy-wise on that. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch it from a matchup standpoint. I think it's tough to play a team that many times. And so, round 4, we'll see what happens.
Any predictions, Darby?
I think I never like to say score, like you said. My gut thinks that Texas can make it happen. Okay. I really do think that they can. Because, again, I think it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Granted, South Carolina is maybe that team, but I think it's hard to do that. And I think you kind of saw that happen in the Austin series. And so, that's my gut, but we'll see.
I speak your name whenever I ask people about predictions because you have laid the groundwork that you don't give predictions, and you definitely don't do scores. I like that about you, Darby. You don't succumb to any pressure. I've seen you on live television shoot down the predictions. Yeah. I got to talk about the men's team. I was a fan of Rodney Terry just because I had an opportunity to call a bunch of his games and cover him. And he's just a great dude, and I thought he did a great job in unbelievable circumstances, unbelievably difficult circumstances. But, he gets the job, 2 years, obviously lukewarm. You turn the page. Again, bummed to see him go. But if I was a Texas fan, I would be thrilled about Sean Miller. So, dude, I wrote it down this morning, four Elite Eights he's been to. So the guy's been knocking on the door for 10 years now, 20 years now. The reception seemed amazing when he was hired at the Hall of Fame over there in Austin. What are people saying about Sean Miller in Austin? Give us a vibe check on that whole situation.
They're excited. I think everyone was a little fan-wise shocked by how fast it happened, but I think that's sort of how CDC has gone about doing things, which was new for me to see too. You heard Sean Miller's name floating around kind of immediately, and I almost didn't believe it because it was so fast, and I thought, it's kind of one of those things. But it was immediately the guy. And I think people are, they're excited. They know that he has a certain quality to even just his name and what he's built, over the years, especially at Arizona. It was very interesting that, Texas had just played Xavier in the first 4. Xavier beats Texas, and then Texas steals their coach, which was kind of wild. But I do think after hearing more from around here, this was happening, even back when Rodney Terry did get the job. CDC was looking at Sean Miller.
Yeah.
And so I think they're in big building for maybe longer than people thought. Not that they were trying to run Rodney Terry out, but when that kind of didn't pan out the way they wanted to, I think that he was kind of in line. So I think there was a little bit of that going on behind the scenes. But yeah, I think people are excited. I think, everyone is anxious to see what, as most programs are with the transfer portal right now, just trying to see, who are they going to pick up? Because that was kind of the rush, right? To get a coach before the portal opened and get going on the recruiting. So I think, it's kind of to be determined on how excited everyone gets. And I think that could pan out as the roster unfolds. But I think people are excited about this hire.
You grew up in Phoenix, obviously, down the road, you're kind of a ways away from Tucson, but you got a feel for Sean Miller. What are your impressions of him as a coach growing up in that state? I mean, he was a mainstay. He was at Arizona for like 10, 11 years.
Yeah, I think 12 years. Yeah, he was there for 12 seasons. Yeah, he was there a long time. I mean, I think my impression is more so on the program he built that I grew up knowing. And again, I have Michigan roots, so growing up with any tie to any Arizona fan base, but knowing that Arizona basketball was a high level program and he was the guy in charge. Like that was just kind of went hand in hand. And obviously, there's a lot of support for that program. Still is. I mean, it's still doing well. Yeah. But yeah, I think Sean Miller to people in Arizona was that guy that, got it to, had it going for a long time. And so I think he has a good reputation in the state. And, that's probably what I would think. I didn't grow up a fan or anything, so that's probably the most I would say. But yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of respect for what he did there.
It's funny when you talk about a lot of schools, and this is just BSing with you. Like a lot of schools, when you let's say Boston College, right? If you have a guy like Rodney Terry, like it's tough to difficult to justify moving on from him because you're Boston College. But if you're Texas, like you can that short leash makes sense because you move on to Sean Miller and you've got Chris Delaconte as your AD. Like you just mentioned it, like that blueprint for success, like to make a move that fast, like that's just shrewd business.
Yeah, he always is. And the best ADs are, they've always got something up their sleeve. They've always got a plan. They've always got a backup plan and all these other things. So yeah, I think, he wanted him and it worked out. And Rodney Terry, people will always respect what he did given the circumstances when he took over the program, especially that first year after Chris Beard was fired. And so I think, people will always respect what he did. But as you mentioned, Texas just wants to, they want to be in contention for a national championship in every program. That's kind of what they say. So when they aren't seeing that happen, they're not afraid to make a change. So that's pretty much where Sean Miller comes in.
Couple more things for you. I'm curious to see what you have to say about covering Texas. It is like the cream of the crop as far as college programs, athletic departments, high profile in the world, right? Mm-hmm. From the facilities to the coaches we're talking about that you can lure there. What has your experience been like covering a Rolls-Royce program like this, where it truly is the best of the best, all the way from the athletes, the talent, to the money? I mean, they've just got so much money. How has that experience been for you?
Yeah, they're definitely in a good position in this NIL era. There's no doubt about that. They have it rolling and they have it rolling in and they're using it in ways that make sense. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's fun to cover. It's fun to cover, teams that are winning or have a chance to be in big events and big moments. And that is, exciting. I think, the football team ends and they, retain Sark, even though there was rumors about him getting NFL interest. That was big. There's the Arch Manning going on, which is, everything I put up a video of him trying to pretend to shoot at a basketball game after, and it gets millions of views. I mean, people are just like obsessed. And so there's that going on. Obviously the women's basketball is about to go to a Final Four. Men's team is trying to get something rolling. And then you turn to baseball and softball and those teams are crushing it as well. So and they won a swimming championship.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot going on around here. And obviously that's fun as doing what I do. And it is, I think the one thing I'll say is it's a big program and there's just fans, it's bigger than just your alumni base for sure. That's definitely exactly the type of program it is. And so, it's a big, it's a big machine around here, and then they have it going in a good direction. And that does start with CDC. So you do have to give him credit for what he's doing around here for sure.
What's the number one thing about the Arch Manning situation that has jumped out for you?
I think just, again, I've never seen people be so obsessed with a guy who has not played a lot of college football. Like there is just such an obsession over, and I'm not a hater of it at all, but it's just fascinating that it is like, the second the season ended, he's doing a sit down with Marty Smith, and he's doing all these things because now he's decided he'll do NIL deals where he didn't do that before he was a starter. And there's and that's awesome. I mean, there's stuff about him and the Manning family that it's awesome. And so, you get it, but it is a crazy, crazy amount of expectations and just interest in what he's about to do. And so I don't know if I've ever experienced anything like that, to be honest. I don't think I've been around a college athlete with that type of star power.
Has he spoken to the media? Has there been an availability, and what's that been like?
Yeah, there's been a few throughout, obviously, this season when he did get to play a little bit in for Quinn, and he seems awesome. I mean, he really does. I know that, he was getting he and Quinn both were kind of in a weird situation over the last year, and I think they both handled it well. And, he's super nice and super seems very chill, level-headed. Seems like the guys really like him, and speaks well with the media. And he's a Manning again. I don't know, kind of what it is. So that comes out for sure.
I believe that he has a leg up in a sense that I watch these guys, whether it's Steph Curry or Patrick Mahomes, and now an Arch Manning. Like when you come from those families where you're around the ballpark, you're around the arena, you're around the stadium, it does make it a little less, underneath the white hot lights and those huge stages. And you also know, like, you've seen your dad stumble and recover. Mm-hmm. I think there's a secret sauce there that's really not so secret, that even though the expectations are super lofty, I think he probably does have the mettle and the fortitude where if he makes a mistake, I think he'll be able to be okay and come back. Because if he makes 2 or 3 in a row, the sky's going to be falling. But he has a place to go, I'm sure, in a routine and people in a safe space where he can work through that stuff. Where some young guys just don't. I mean, you're a 5-star quarterback in West Texas or somewhere else, and you come to Texas to play, and maybe your dad's an auto mechanic or maybe he's a finance guy, but he can't give you that type of wisdom that Peyton Manning can.
Yeah,
or that his father can.
He can call a few people, and he'll be getting it, whatever advice he needs about. Yeah, they've seen it. That family has seen it all, no doubt. And so I think, even just the fact that his grandpa urged him to not take NIL deals until he was a starter, like, who is getting that advice in there? Like, kids are not getting that advice, and it's stuff that's, I think, like, you're right. It kind of sets him apart in how he's prepared for what's to come. But it is, you talk about how big Texas football is, and there's no bigger role than that quarterback. And it is, he'll be in it come in the fall. He'll be in it. But I think, like you said, I think he's ready for it. So,
by the way, on your font there, it says Waco Legend at the bottom, because that's exactly who you are. Thank you, Scotty Swingler. I want to ask you about Baylor basketball. I was bummed yesterday when I saw Celestine had transferred. He was the one. I know you watch because your brother Trent, basketball ops with Baylor, so you watch a lot of games. He was the one guy down the stretch that I felt could actually get his own shot and make it. So I was like, man, that's a bummer. Where do you see this team going in the offseason with the portal? Not that you have inside knowledge, but what are your thoughts, I guess, on this?
I probably do, but I probably can't.
You can't share. I know. Well, I'm trying to let you off the hook, Darby. All right.
No, but in a general sense, I think we all saw they went after some star power this last year, and I think that you got to reload a ton right now. So they got to get a bunch of role players, and I think that's what they're starting to do. I mean, I will say this: I do not envy that situation right now with the transfers and the, all of it just across the board, it's just so crazy how much you have to reload every single year right now. It's just, and it seems like, it used to be just if someone soured on the program, they would leave, or if, something like that, it wasn't, now it's like kind of just all the different reasons in the world. So it is kind of crazy. I mean, yeah, they definitely have their work cut out for them, but I would say, like, keeping Rob, very positive. That is a huge thing for that team. I mean, he was so fun to watch. And, but I agree. Jalen was fun to watch. He was a good shooter. And, that's a little bit of from a fan perspective, because I am one now, I guess. I agree with you that it's like, that was a bummer to see him go. But, again, it's just the way that it is. It is just kind of one of those things.
How do you expect them to do coming up next year? Just with all the turnover. I mean, right now I think they got 3 dudes who will be back again next year. Obviously, a lot of time between now and then. So much can happen. But right now, prisoners of the moment, what do you look forward to next year from this team?
Yeah, I think they are always going to bring in quality people. And I think, that the fans will always be proud of the players that they bring in. I think you could say that about this year, even though they didn't maybe perform the way that people wanted them to, which, again, if a down year is what this looked like for them, I mean, that's in a good position.
I've been saying that also. I've been saying that the past 2 months. Like, if this is your down year, this is pretty damn good.
Right. That's how I feel. But I think that they're going after, they need to get a bunch of guys, and I think that they will be a little deeper maybe than they were this year. They need to be. I mean, they got to prepare for more, injuries and things like that happen, obviously. So I think they'll probably be a little bit deeper. I think they'll be in a good position. I mean, I think there was a lot of turnover, even amongst the staff last year, that I think people kind of forgot about a little bit too, that, they not only were reloading their roster last year, but they were reloading 2 of their top assistant positions. And now they're going to have to get 1 new assistant. I saw that one coach is headed to McNeese. But I think there was a lot of turnover going up in the staff as well as the players. And so I think this year this will be a little bit, a little smoother maybe, but I don't know.
By the way, is Trent staying with the program?
I think so. Yeah. I haven't talked
to him. So he's not
much.
transferring. All right, let's go, Trent.
Yeah, he should be around. But he's been loving it, and I think I don't know. I believe in them. They'll figure it out. But it is. Again, college athletics right now it's crazy. So
it's hard. Let me ask you one more question. I don't want to keep too long. But how hard is it? Like, when I'm calling a game, I really am like, okay, let me get some storylines on the players, and let me call the game. Because if I start thinking about other stuff, it's too much. It's too much. As a broadcaster now in the medium, like, how do you approach your job when you have so many other things that you could report on, that are going on? How do you get hyper-focused on the story you're going to do so you can present it to your audience, right, and serve them without getting caught up in all the stuff that's going on? Because it is real stuff and it's important, but at the same time, you've got a job to do, and there's just too much of it all out there. You have to whittle it down and be direct with something.
Yeah, you got to focus on one storyline at a time. You got to think about how the audience would ingest the material you're giving them, So if you're going all over the place, you got to focus it down. And then that's kind of how I always think about it in my head too. Like, okay, this is the game. This was the main point of it. And, this is what I'm trying to get across, or this is the player I'm talking about. This is what his or her story is. And that's what I'm trying to get across. But yeah, you can't get too caught up in the weeds of whatever else might be going on. You kind of got to focus on what's in front of you, what and go from there. But yeah, it's, I will say, from this stuff we're talking about with transfers and stuff, it has changed a lot as far as how you can cover these teams, because you used to get to know these players a lot more. And now it's just so in and out that it is harder to build connections and really get to know some of these people, because it's different.
It's crazy. And you've seen it all. I mean, this is like in your 10 years of doing this or whatever, 8 years of doing this, like, you've seen so much.
Yeah.
It's
true.
crazy.
Yeah. It hasn't, my career has not been that long, but I think back to the 2021 national championship team for Baylor, those guys, we got to know those guys because they were here for a few years, couple years at least. Now it's like, if you get the same team 2 years in a row, that's such a luxury. So, and almost doesn't happen. So it's different when you think about some of that. And it's just, it's interesting. I mean, I watched like this last matchup for Texas against Haley Van Lith and TCU. I mean, she'd been at 5 Elite Eights with 3 different teams. That's crazy. It's crazy times I mean, good for her, but also like it's crazy.
And Sedona Prince has spent 4 years at Texas, a year at Oregon, and now a couple at TCU. True. I was like, whoa. All right, last thing, Scotty, you got anything for Darby? Scotty's cool. Scotty's a huge Baylor guy, so he always has a question or two. He's a huge Darby Brown fan, Waco legend. All right, Darby, what's the one thing you miss the most about Waco? You're right down the road, but what do you miss the most?
Oh my gosh, I miss everything. I love Waco. I really do. I think I miss my coworkers at KWTX. I miss being around the Baylor team. But I will say, I think everything happens for a reason. It was fun to be a fan of this team this year and not be in the mix as a reporter, And so I think, But I miss Waco a ton.
All right, well, Waco misses you. Darby Brown, you can see her on CBS Austin. We appreciate your time, Darbs. Thank you so much. Great insight, great energy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, this is early for me, as you know, so I'll have a good day.
All right, Darby, see ya.